Baruch Hashem, you're a bad Jew.
Shalom, Shana Tova, come on in to another episode of Bad Jew. This week's episode is about the high holidays. We are entering right now, and who better to enter the high holidays with than Jamie Geller. Jamie, welcome to the podcast. How are you today?
I'm amazing, Charles. It's so exciting to be here. What an honor.
It's truly an honor to have you. And Jamie, you and I have had the chance to, become better friends over the year when I was over there in Israel and yeshiva. I had the chance to get to know you better. I also have had the chance to network with you. And so it's been really wonderful to get your advice from one CMO of AISH International to another CMO of AISH Los Angeles. So it really does mean a lot to have you here on the show and to continue making wonderful content with you.
Cool. Amazing. It's such a pleasure.
Now, Jamie, as you know, we have a right event under this podcast, the Bad Jew 4-Minute Challenge, where you tell your life story in 4 minutes. Are you ready?
No.
You did great. I appreciate the honesty. It's time. Shalosh, yalla.
Okay. I've told you before, I'm so tired about talking about myself. So I'm going to see how quick I can do it. From Philly, went to NYU, became a producer at CNN, HBO, became more religious, met my husband through a matchmaker, got engaged after 2 weeks, married 2 months later, had 5 kids in 5 minutes. And I always say quick and kosher is not just the name of my first book, but a metaphor for my entire life. Wrote a few cookbooks, made Aliyah to Israel, had a 6th kid here, made a documentary about my Aliyah called Joy of Aliyah, which you could see on YouTube. Very cool. And then started a media company called Kosher Network International, Jewish food and lifestyle, focusing on food, holidays, and travel in Israel. And we grew to an audience of 5 million followers with over 1 billion views. And then I got sort of antsy and my creative juices didn't feel challenged. So ended up as the CMO of AISH, the Chief Media Marketing Officer. The marketing department started as a department of 1. Now we have about 30 people between media and marketing full-time, in addition to probably 10 to 15 full-time vendors. Love my life, love God, love Israel, and love being here today.
I love it.
How long was that?
You know what? That was just 2 minutes and 45 seconds. That was actually, that was 1 minute and 15 seconds.
I was like, I so hoped it was a minute. 2 minutes 45. I'm like, whoa.
No. I misread it. But I'll tell you what, though. I mean, like your Bad Jew challenge was quick and kosher, just like your autobiography. So I love that. That's so cool. So Jamie, let's get into it then. Let's stop talking about you. Like you said, you're tired of talking about you. Okay, let's talk about something above us all, which is the high holidays, right? We got the high holidays ahead of us, which is, Rosh Hashanah, which means head of the year, right? Mm-hmm. We have a new year, okay? I get that we have a lunar calendar. There's the secular calendar, right? But why do we have to have a new year? Like, why do we have to have a separate celebration outside of the December 31st ball dropping event that we all love to celebrate? Like what's the difference in these events?
Well, I mean, you're asking that wrong question. Why did they have to have a new year? Our new year was first. And by the way, so much follows the Jewish New Year, customs. The whole idea of New Year's resolutions comes from the Jewish New Year. So it's like, for those of us that grew up more secularized or totally secular, so we're very familiar, like you said, with the ball dropping in December 31st and, going according to the solar calendar and the idea of those New Year's resolutions and how we want to make ourselves better people. It's time to stop and to reassess and take on all those things that we had promised ourselves the year before and neglected and then take them on again. So that idea comes from the Jewish New Year, and that whole idea of improving ourselves and making ourselves both better and living up to our greatest potential and the world a better place, right? We have a responsibility in the Jewish tradition, not just to ourselves, but to the world. People are familiar with the concept of light unto the nations, and each and every one of us has the responsibility to fulfill that ideal. And so, and I think the new year allows that reset. I mean, and by the way, we can do that every day. Like every day when we get up in the morning, there's that Modeh Ani prayer, which thanks God for the fact that we got up to live another day, and that every single day we can go through that opportunity to reset. But the new year is a bit more momentous. And so I think it's there for us to get close to God and to help perfect ourselves and the world around us.
I think you said something that's really interesting to me, which is that, we were the first ones to come up with it. So like, yeah, like we have been setting our own calendar since we left Egypt, right?
Yeah.
And we had this head of the year event, this beginning of the year event, where we always focused on what was and what can be, right?
Correct.
And what's kind of interesting about the head of the year is that you're not really focusing on the present in that moment. I mean, you're focusing on the results of what was and what led to now, right? But then you're so forward thinking that you're starting to prep and plan. And this is very much the notion of what the secular New Year's looks like as well. So it's completely adopted by us, as you said, which is totally true.
If I could just interrupt,
Yeah.
it's not a moment of guilt. It's not a look back and it's like, I can't believe what I did. It's really a look forward opportunity. So it's much more about what can be than what was. What was, but what can change is what can be. And that's what we're living for.
Very fascinating. I think that there's a lot to be said about, this year in particular. So this year, Simchat Torah isn't the first holiday of the year, but it's one of the firsts. And so, Simchat Torah 2023 was, or I guess 5784, more specifically, was traumatic for everyone. It was a wake up call, and it changed everyone's lives. So for you personally, Jane, I'd love to know, what was and what do you see will be in relation to that?
So it's so interesting. You asked me if I was ready for that 4-minute challenge, and I was so not, because I just came from an October 7th shoot. So obviously the 1-year anniversary, as you mentioned, is coming up, and it is weighing so heavily on all of us. And of course, you said it's quite clear that it was a traumatic event and day, but we are still living in the trauma. Right now, I live in Israel. I'm coming to you from Israel. And my nephews, my neighbors, my friends, children, cousins, fathers, aunts, uncles, everyone is in the army right now. Everyone is still in Gaza or has been moved up north. There's nonstop rocket barrages in the north. The north is on fire. We're used to the idea of Gaza and southern Israel really as a war zone, but the north is on fire right now. And so we are living in the trauma still 1 year later. And I think the challenge, this coming up on this momentous first year anniversary, is no one thought that we would still be here a year later, and let alone fighting a multi-front war right now. So I think it's incredibly intense. And I think we have to ask ourselves, not the politicians, not the world leaders, not anyone else, why are we still here? And what can I do personally to get us out of this? And that's why I spoke about, we each have responsibility to do better so that we can move forward and move out of this.
Well said. I think that's so important, especially right now. I mean, I've been thinking about what it's going to take for us as a people in this new year ahead to relinquish this nightmare, to get rid of this. We're still very much in it. And there are going to be things about this war that we're going to get a full 2020 hindsight vision on. So I'm still in that place. And like, I think a lot of people feel paralyzed about that. And maybe people have felt paralyzed all this year and the Jewish year 5784. I think there's been this mass paralysis going on with the Jewish people, where we've all been thinking about, okay, like, how can we possibly, move on from this going to the new year, when a lot of us are still stuck on October 7th emotionally?
So a few things about what you said. You said, what can we do as the people? I think we have to think, what can we do individually? What can we do one by one? When you think about what we can do as a people, and the idea of mobilizing 15, 16 million Jews worldwide with 100 million of the 15 different opinions, you know what I'm saying? Like one Jew, 2 opinions. It's like, no. So what can we do one by one? I think that that's much more attainable vision, and to understand that we each individually have the power to change the status quo. You spoke about paralysis. Maybe it's different in LA, but certainly in Israel, even though, like I said, everything is weighing very heavy on our hearts. So many movements, so many organizations, so many initiatives, so much mobilization has happened in every way, shape, or form. educationally, emotionally, operationally to help the situation. I have seen but the most beautiful side of the Jewish people in this last year. So I'm looking back positively in that regard. But again, like I said, the fact that we are still here means there is still work to be done.
Yeah. And you know what? I really appreciate that. And to the listeners out there, if you are listening and you're experiencing that paralysis where you're like, you're not sure what to do, right? Take Israel as an example. I mean, our mission is literally to be a light unto nations. Israel is right now being a light unto you. Rise above it. Face your fears. Mobilize. Do whatever you can. Get involved somehow. Make the movements. Be like Israel. We need you. There are so many Jews out there that are detached, and some of those Jews listen to this podcast because it's one of those few educational places where they can come in, feel welcome, not feel like there's a super high level concept that takes them away from their Jewish journey. That feels so detached from their Jewish journey. I mean, and so, seriously, if you're a part of this, listening to this podcast isn't going to do enough. It's time to step up.
But let me just say, if you are living and breathing, we need you. You have work to be done. And that is your greatest proof. And can I just say, I love all the ideas you just gave: step up, mobilize, get involved, connect, community, etc. But can I just suggest one very easy thing for people to do? And that's to pray. Because if you sit down here, all the strategy, all the politics, the greatest minds have yet to map out a solution for the problem that we are facing. It is that complex. There is absolutely no clear-cut game plan or solution that anyone has set forth or that anyone could dream up for moving forward from here. It's going to come from God. And I think that this is teaching us that there is nowhere else to turn but there. It is time to connect. God is our Father in heaven. He does want the best for us. He puts challenges in front of us so that we come closer to him. We spoke about this as Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is the chance to come closer to him. The high holidays are that amazing opportunity. And so I feel like one simple thing that you can do, if you're feeling like you said paralyzed, is just face the heavens, turn to God and pray. And it doesn't have to be formal prayer, and it doesn't have to be in, Hebrew. It can be in your own language, in your own words, in your own thoughts, whatever you want, big or small. But I think that that's a massive opportunity that we have in front of us.
Jamie, I'm all about practical, low barrier of entry advice that listeners can take today. As soon as they listen to the episode, something they can do on their own. So I really do appreciate everything you said, and really well said. I love that. I really, really do. I want to shift back solely to Rosh Hashanah for a second, though. You'd mentioned God, right? The high holidays, is the implication of a high holiday the idea that we're somehow closer to God because of that time of the year? And if so, what are some of the things that we do during this holiday in particular that help us get closer to Hashem?
So the calendar does. There's a deep spiritual meaning to why things are on the days that they are. And there are special spiritual opportunities at that time. So right now in Rosh Hashanah, the gates of prayer are open in a way that they aren't always every other single day of the year or on your average Tuesday. And so it's an opportunity to have the prayers flow in straight to God, straight, direct. Another thing is that there is an energy that also, if you can try to feel it and tap into and prepare yourself, do not expect that you're going to wake up on that day. We can give another practical advice, just feel Rosh Hashanah. It's something that you have to prepare yourself for. So I'm glad that you're putting this podcast out now so you can do a countdown, right? Like the 10, 9, 8, at the mall drops. We're going back to that same thing. Prepare yourself for that moment. Every day, think about something that you might want to do different next year or take on, or think about with anticipation. When you go on vacation, you don't one day pick up next day. You put on a calendar, you count down, you look forward, you X off the days, you get some of your work done, you prep, you shop, you pack your bags, you get your itinerary. Do the same thing for this incredible holy day of the year. I feel prep yourself and get ready for it, and you will get the most out of it. Because just because I said that there's a special spiritual energy in the air and a special opportunity to connect, if you don't prepare yourself and open yourself up for that, it ain't just happening.
I love that.
Every year, we spoke about it's a chance for you to, set your milestones and your goals and take on your resolutions. But God sets the year too. And we do decide who is going to live and who will die this year. God does decide who will live and who will die, and who will be rich and who will be poor, and who will be sick and who will be healed, who will find their soulmates and who will continue to look, who will have babies and who will continue to wait. And the list goes on and on. This is the time to beseech, right? The Almighty for whatever it is that you want and need for the year. The book of life, as they say, to give an analogy, is open. And we're literally like writing the next year is being written right now. So it is opened on Rosh Hashanah and is being sealed on Yom Kippur. So you have the time to prepare yourself, right? For Rosh Hashanah. Think about all the things that you want to pray for. And there's nothing too big and nothing too small that the master of the universe can't grant you. Okay, so that's number one. And number two is, then we have 10 days until Yom Kippur, until the book is sealed. So you can continue to add things, you can continue to pray, you continue to beseech, but that's something very much to think about, that like you're setting the tone both in terms of what is in your area of control, right? I mean, everything is from God, but even so, like what you have the power to affect. And then you're also asking the ultimate controller and creator of the universe to set a good year for you. So that's the important concept of Rosh Hashanah.
Thank you for that. I really do appreciate that extra context about the mindfulness that goes behind the holiday. Out of curiosity, Jamie, do you personally do a lot of do you write down a list of the things that you want for the year ahead, that you need for the year ahead in order to succeed?
So I think a lot. Like I do like a very informal meditation as I'm falling asleep. And I think about what I'm thankful for and what I want. And by the way, to be honest, it's not just when I'm falling asleep, when I'm driving, when I like whenever I have a moment, that's more quiet. It's like usually the driving, if I'm not on a work call, and like the moments before bed are like those more contemplative moments that I can be with my thoughts. And I think about it a lot. And by the way, when I pray every day, these things are in my prayer. So they're part of my daily thought process. So yeah, for sure. But I don't write them down. I think that's a tremendous, tremendous exercise for those that, connect in that way. Absolutely. I think it's a great idea and tip.
Wonderfully said. Okay. Going back to the preparation question I was going to ask, Doug.
Yeah.
You're also known for your incredible talent of baking and cooking. And so I'd love to know, Rosh Hashanah, we always open up with an amazing feast, right? With apples and honey. What are some of the recipes? What are some of the mouth-watering ideas that you have that will make this year sweet as honey?
Okay, so first of all, it's a very big custom to make a lot of the dishes sweet. So you said start with apples and honey and end with honey cake, which is like a very big, also Rosh Hashanah delicacy. But in the middle, to make sure you put honey, or when the Bible talks, when the Torah talks about the land of milk and honey, they're actually talking about goat's milk and date honey. Silan, not bees honey. So Silan, which is prevalent here, very, very, very popular. 99% of people are cooking with that in place of regular honey because it's, first of all, more affordable, and second of all, like one of the products of the land, like all the date palms and trees. But it's become in the last, let's say, 10 years, starting to be more popular in the States, like from a health perspective. It's like a natural 100% dates, very deep, caramelly, rich sweetener. So I say you put it in everything. So I'm putting it on my brisket. I'm putting it on my chicken dishes. I make a dressing with Silan in it. So add and inject that sweetness, not just for the beginning and the end, but add it in the middle.
Ooh, that sounds good. Okay, so sweetness has to be a part of everything. I mean, there's something.
Everyone a sweet new year, not just putting it on your table. But by the way, like if you're not into cooking or whatever, then just make sure that it's like part of your everyday speaking. Wish everyone not just a happy new year, but a happy sweet new year, which is Shana Tova Mitzuka. It's like the saying.
Shana Tova Mitzuka. I love it. I love it. I love it. That sounds amazing. So you're gonna add it in the chicken and the brisket. You're gonna add it in the desserts as well.
In my salad dressings and my marinades. Yeah, it's going everywhere.
I love that. In this upcoming year, what in your mind is going to make it the sweetest new year possible outside of just the food?
Like my wishes or like
Yeah, and some of your wishes, but also like who you imagine around the dinner table, things like
oh
that. Yeah.
yeah, okay. So then I mean, like obviously I have my very personal prayers for each of my children. Thank God we have 6 children, 3 boys and 3 girls. And anyone who is watching this who either has children or listening, who has children or who understands like the investment that their parents had made in them, that's what we live for, that's what we're here for, to create the next generation and to nurture them and raise them to be better than we were and make the world a better place than we left it, or that we found it and then we left it. And so that's when I think about sitting around the table with my family for hours on end and having something called shalom bayis, which is peace in the home, which is just that joy and no fighting, and um, it's just an understanding and a respect for each other and a love for each other. When I say no fighting, I don't mean like, we're not going to raise our voice, but I meant like no deep rifts or strains on any of the relationships. And just the joy of watching and raising beautiful Jewish children is like, that's the dream.
That's huge. You just
And some of them getting married this year, God willing, and bringing other Jewish children into the world.
is Rosh
Please, God.
Hashanah. Hey, wait. So you just made me think of something though. So shalom bayit, right, which means peace in the home, is an important concept, and that seems like there's probably a correlation between that and Rosh Hashanah.
I mean, it's funny. I don't know if there's technically an official correlation, but it's certainly one of the main central dreams of the Jewish home, and blessings to give, to a Jewish home, and things to pray for. I can maybe make a tiny correlation and say that one of the customs on Rosh Hashanah is to make a round challah. So during the year, we braid the challah. Everyone knows it as the braided bread. But during Rosh Hashanah, we make a round challah to symbolize the cycle of life and the new year, the cyclical nature of us having a chance to go around one more time and get it right this time. And so I actually have a recipe that I call shalom bayis challah, which I make during the year, all year long. And it's basically also a round challah made up of, like, if you imagine like a little roll, just like a little dinner roll. And I place them in the pot, the pan, all around in a roll with one in the center. So it's a round shape, but each one I put a different topping on. Because, like, what's your favorite challah topping? Sesame, poppy. What do you like? Something else?
You know what? I've always liked savory challahs. My mom makes a mean savory challah. So I've always liked garlic, actually.
Oh, love that you said that. My family's from Transylvania. I forgot to tell you. My parents came from Transylvania to Pennsylvania. We're like all obsessed with garlic. So, but unfortunately, I was gonna say my family's like too American. I guess technically now they're Israelis. They don't love garlic the way I love garlic. But
Right.
like oozing, dripping, like I make challah garlic knots sometimes. They'll go for that, So garlic, I like that. My signature is an everything topping where I mix everything together, like an everything bagel. But when you do the shalom bayis challah, each roll, one of my kids really likes poppy seeds. One likes sesame. One likes everything. You could do brown sugar. I also like a health vibe, everything topping with like oats and flax seeds and that kind of thing. So I'll put that on mine. And that's the shalom bayis challah, because when it bakes, so it all puffs up together to the round challah. And then you just rip off the one you like, and everyone is happy.
Wow.
So I like the round thing, I like that.
That sounds so good. And I get that though. There is a difference with challahs, because normally challahs are just kind of like a straightforward braid, very similar to a hairstyle, right?
Yeah.
And there's a symbolism there. As a matter of fact, the episode for this episode was about why do Jews eat challah. So we actually did a whole thing with the original creator of Challah Hub about the history of challah and the symbolism behind it. And then I know. And then now we're talking about challah again. Here is a debate. Here's a debate from the last episode. I'm very curious what your opinion is. Okay.
Like, are you putting me into controversy now? Like, as we go through the year?
I don't think it's controversial, but let's see. Maybe it is controversial. Maybe I'm going to be canceled for this question. But
okay.
Are you a tearer or a cutter when it comes to challah? And
okay. After we settle this debate, then we can go into the matzo ball, floater, or sinker, because that's the next debate.
Deal.
I am a tearer.
Okay.
And my husband is a precision slicer. Like precision. Like it looks like he's a machine. Every single piece is the same size as the piece before it. So I've had to change my customs.
I'm on board with you, by the way. I'm a tearer personally.
And
It-
inside it's like,
I know it's just something satisfying about it.
yeah, be
You
honest.
know, I think it's more like not animalistic, but like I don't know, like more authentic.
No, like authentic. I was gonna say that's a much more positive way of saying it. Like very authentic and just
Right.
young.
Right. Absolutely. Well,
All is good. It will taste good both ways.
definitely. As far as the matzo ball question goes, I think we'll have to do a future episode about matzo ball soup.
Okay.
So this is an invitation.
Maybe we'll keep them in suspense.
Exactly. I love it. I love it. We'll talk about sinkers versus floaters. But Jamie, thank you for being on the podcast. For those who want to connect with you, follow you, to get inspired by you, what is the best way for people to connect with you?
Okay, so to connect with me personally, I would say at Jamie Geller on Instagram, or jamiegeller.com is my website. But if you want to learn more of like deeper ideas about the Jewish concepts that I shared, you can find those on aish.com. And for great recipes, julish.com.
Amazing. Jamie, Shana Tova, have an amazing new year. And to the listeners, I wish you...
Shana Tova u'metuka.
Shana Tova u'metuka. And to the listeners, Shana Tova u'metuka as well. Have a sweet new year. Thank you all for listening. And I really hope that the advice that Jamie gave is something that people can take on with a very practical and new approach. And again, to the listeners, thank you all for tuning into Bad Jew. By the way, I just want to point out one more thing before I end this episode, is that this year alone, Bad Jew become the 17th largest Jewish podcast. 5784, we maintained our 2-year streak. We're now at the 2-year streak of releasing an episode every single week. One week, by the way, had 2 episodes come out, which was extra content. It was insane. That was when I was there in Israel, by the way. Amazing. And, you know, Jamie, like it's been just absolutely amazing. I just want to thank everyone who's made it possible, to every single subscriber, everyone who's left a review, everyone who comments on social media, even the negative comments. Thank you to the trolls who helped my algorithms. But I want to just
go for the top 10 and number 1 next year. How about that?
Baruch Hashem, Bezrat Hashem, God willing. But Jamie, thank you again for being on the podcast. And to the listeners, we'll see you next Wednesday on the next episode of Bad Jew.
Shana Tova u'metuka.
Shalom.